Welcome to the Southern Orchid. I am Shade, and today I would like to pick up a subject that came up in a Facebook group, and I think that is a Facebook group. I'm not going to give any names for the moment being, but it is a group where I will find a lot of subjects to discuss in those podcasts of mine. This time it is about the subject of self-love, and somebody said, stop telling people that no one will love them until they love themselves. Stop planting the idea in people's brain that they are unworthy of love because of their own struggle. Whoever wrote this and whoever believes this, because that person got a lot of likes and loves and whatever, I don't think that the person is getting the point. Actually, what I think is very interesting is that the person is already bringing up a judgment concerning what is told people. So what is the point about this self-love everyone is talking about, and which seems to be very important? And I'm trying to explain it a little bit in a different way. So actually, the person is saying that the moment you tell someone or you ask someone the question, have you ever loved yourself? Do you know what it means to feel and to experience self-love? That this question means that we are waiting for an answer when the person is saying no, that we're waiting for an answer to say, well, then you are incapable and other ones are not consider you to be worthy and whatever. And it is as if people are going to tell you, okay, if you are not ready and or if you are not capable of self-love, then other people will not love you. That is not what is being said. And I think this is very interesting, this harsh, implicit judgment of those people who consider the fact that if you do not know what self-love feels like, and I'm not talking about what self-love is, but what it feels like, that it is not possible for you to be really sure that whatever another person brings along is love. To turn that around in a way that if we were telling the person that the person is guilty of it, that the person is has a flaw, that the person is wrong and so on, that's not the point. My first point in all this is very simple. As long as you do not consider what the problem is, you will not have the point to start to find a solution. So it is important for someone who has never experienced self-love to become aware that that is actually a point, and that's the point to start from. It's not a point of judgment, it's just like a fact, and we can say, okay, this is missing for me to experience a sane and not a toxic idea of love from the outside. And if someone is going to tell me that sure, everyone can tell you what love is and that you can experience love even if you do not love yourself, wait a second. There are two things that I want to bring up, and one is a very simple example. Do you remember when people talk about falling in love, having a crush? We're talking about butterflies in our stomach. Let me explain this from a point of someone who has autistic traits. The idea of having butterflies in my stomach, that's not a nice, a beautiful idea. That's like, how did it get in there? Did I swallow a caterpillar? No, thank you. Okay, the idea itself is not romantic, but we consider it to be romantic. And somewhere along the way, there were guys who found out that actually that feeling that we have is exactly the same as if you are tested. So this sort of butterfly feeling is the same feeling that you have in your stomach when at school you had a test and you were not sure if you were prepared well enough, and so on. So actually it is fear. It is the fear of being tested if the person you have a crush on has also a crush on you and really loves you. That's it. It's a test. It's not even the test. It's the fear of a test. The test may not even exist, but it's our imagination. So actually we have the same feeling, but depending on the situation, our minds concerning the beliefs that we have been fed on. So it's not that we are simply imagine those beliefs, that we just bring them up. No, it's what we see on TV. That's what people are telling us. Oh, I have butterflies in my stomach. Oh, I'm so in love. No, okay? You are afraid of being tested. That's it, period. And you cannot make the difference between being tested, of being in love or falling in love, if you did not have the opportunity to experience what love feels for you. And that is the first part that is very important in my eyes. There is a guy who makes videos. Michael from Vsauce is the video source, and he says, if you're red, the same red as mine. So we both see a color, we both see a vibration, and we consider it as a color. But if I consider it the same kind of red as the next one and the next one and the next one, we do not know. And it's the same for feelings and emotions like love. So you cannot say, I am explaining to you what love feels like, and then the other one says, oh yes, I know what you're talking about. The person can only know what you're talking about if you had already the experience, and the experience starts with yourself. And that is actually the big problem in the situation. People outside want to tell us how a feeling feels like. It's not possible. Everyone has his own unique idea of this feeling, and you cannot from the outside explain it. It's like spirituality, it's like a lot of things. You can explain them. Explain to someone knitting. You are maybe someone who is great at knitting. The person has never knitted, can take up your experiences, get some hints. But the person needs to have the needles in his own hands to find out what knitting will be like for that person. We can never take away the experience. So, how do we want to make sure that a person who does not know self-love can be absolutely sure that what is brought to him from another person is really self-love, and not some pressure and some dependency or codependency or whatever, but that the person can also see the traps. That is only possible if the person knows what love is in its own, his or her own feelings. And why is this so difficult? Well, it starts with childhood. And let me explain it in a different way again. So the image I have is not the one of a kid, simply because I do not have kids. And I have not seen it that way with kids. But every kind of kid has the same kind of experiences. And there is a video outside. If I find the link, I'm going to link it. There's a video outside of a small kitten. It's laying on its back, and it looks at its front paws. And the moment it looks at its front paws, it sees something wiggling. And then it stares and it finds out it has a back paw. And you really can see in the face of this kitten, like, just another paw, what is this? And with the front paws, it takes the back, the hind leg, and pulls it back next to it, and finds out, hey, that's part of me. And when it looks at this hind paw, at that leg, it sees something else wriggling and finds out it has a second paw. And kids are the same way. Well, the first thing we are doing as from being babies and starting to becoming children, we learn about ourselves, and we find out that we have hands and that we have fingers. And the moment we look at ourselves in a mirror, we find out we have a face, and we touch the face and we start recognizing ourselves. So why shouldn't we be able to do this with our feelings? Why shouldn't kids be able to sense anger and become aware that it's our anger? Oh, it's my anger. Oh, that's how anger feels. That's what I'm feeling. It's me. It's part of me. What can I do with it? Instead of, and I fully understand, don't get me wrong, as what concerns parents, that this point that the moment, especially with feelings like anger or frustration, that it can be very difficult for a parent to guide the child through it. But on one point, you have people who leave the kids alone, sort of, okay, now try to get down with your anger, and they leave the kids to cope with their anger alone. And that is the moment that you do not guide them through their anger. And so they cannot find out, first of all, what is this feeling? This feeling is mine. It is okay that I have that feeling. It is okay that that feeling is mine. And now I am going to learn slowly how to handle this feeling of mine, how to handle the emotion, what to do with the energy behind the emotion. If you leave them alone, forcing them to self-soothe in a moment where they do not even know what the feeling is. So that is the moment it becomes difficult. And why is it so difficult for some parents to help children through this? Because they have never learned it either. You are not, depending on what family you come from, your parents were overwhelmed too with the situation because they have not been taught how to handle it, and the next generation too, and the next generation too. So this is the moment maybe where you can come and pick it up and say, okay, that is the color. Maybe the moment your child is showing you something like that, you can just bring back and say, when I remember when I first felt anger, what was it like for me? And maybe I can tell my child, hey, I know what you're going through. I had the same feeling and I had the same emotion. And even maybe yesterday I had that emotion, and I'm trying to find a way. Let's find a way together to handle an emotion like that. So the moment, not simply concerning anger, not simply concerning love, fear, for example, the moment we try to explain to the kid that the fear is not necessary, fear of the dark, oh, there's a monster under my bed. Yes, you can take the kid, you take a lamp, you light under the bed and see, do you see a monster? And you put the kid back into bed. You are not going to help the kid, to handle the fear. And this is exactly what is happening to us. So, if we do already not know how to perceive love for ourselves, how can we recognize it the moment it crosses our path? I always explain it a little bit like this. Imagine you have a castle, okay, and you're safe in that castle. And someone is giving you tools to build a road outside of that castle into the town of love, okay? And to build a road for love, you need special tools, you need whatever. And someone is trying to teach you this, okay? This is love in all, not self-love or love for someone else or for something else. No, simply the subject love. And you build a road, and the moment you come to a place and you see another road crossing your path, you say, oh, that looks the same. Oh, let me follow this road. And you may find the road of someone else who has built it from his castle, from this idea of love. But if you do not build that road, then at one moment when a road comes to your castle, you do not know it, you do not recognize it, you do not see the same vibration, the same tools, the same way it has been built. There are always differences because your way to perceive love and to live out love will be different from the other, but you will see the parallels, you will find the similarities, but you do not have something to check on similarities. Then whatever comes to you, you may consider it as a threat, even if it is love, because you have never built your own way, you have never built your own experiences to it concerning you. It is someone who is building a path to you, to love you, can only encounter you on the road and not in your castle. Maybe that gives you an idea that whatever the person who wrote those lines in the beginning, it's actually his own missing self-love that gives him this idea that he has to feel aggressed by the words, that he feels judged by the words that are not a judgment but just a fact, and we try to find a solution to the problem. And maybe this is the first person who should consider to start self-love instead of lashing out against others who try their best to find solution to a problem that is absolutely to be seen everywhere in the world, in our families, in our society. So consider that you have to find your love first. And consider that maybe you do not have the tools in the beginning. Consider that someone may guide you to your self-love, but that nobody can tell you how you have to feel when someone else is loving you, how you have to feel when someone is imprinting his idea or her idea of love onto you. Love is yours, and then it becomes something shareable. Elsewhere, it is just an information, a vibration, an energy that you might mistake for something else simply because you do not have the experience. You have not the inner blueprint for it. I hope that gives you a certain idea of how words like that, I'm not talking about the subject love in it all, but the words that have been said in the beginning that I have read from that Facebook account, from that Facebook group, maybe if someone goes into that direction, maybe this gives you a certain idea that whenever, it always depends on how someone says it, don't get me wrong, but that the message behind is not to consider you to be flawless, but just to consider you as a person who still has an option to learn something that until now you did not have the possibility to learn. So it can be a sentence with a certain empathy. Yes, some people are very rough in this, but maybe there's more empathy behind this sentence that the person who wrote this phrase in the beginning may understand. Thank you.